the presentations that I have heard have been inspiring for the work that is happening on the ground, and I was certainly blessed by the presentation last night of Dr. Landis. Dr. Landis is a wonderful friend and colleague. Over many years, we've worked together and now work with him from time to time on General Conference initiatives. But one of the things I love about Dr. Landis is not only his enormous sense of humor. I wonder whether sometimes he shouldn't have been a comedian, but also is his deep commitment to health ministry. And you saw it in his presentation last night, a comprehensive vision of what God is calling us to be. But also the deep commitment of in his own life, of his own integrity, and him living out the principles he talks about. One of the things that has touched me many times about Dr. Landis is from time to time, I get a call in the middle of my day, and Dr. Landis calls to just pray for me. Said he was thinking about me and called to pray. And we need, as Christians, to have people like that who think about us and who take the time to call and pray for us. So it's really a pleasure and privilege to be here. I think it's been said this morning that when you're a Seventh-day Adventist, you can go anywhere in the world and feel at home when you're among your fellow brothers and sisters. And so that's how I feel today. Truth in advertising, my wife and I both live in the United States, but neither of us originally started our lives in the United States. So my wife comes from the Caribbean island of Jamaica, the largest English-speaking island in the Caribbean. And I have connections to two Caribbean islands. I was born in the Dutch Caribbean island of Aruba. So the place in Europe that I've visited the most is the Netherlands, since I have more relatives in the Netherlands than any other place in the world. But I grew up on the English-speaking Caribbean island of St. Lucia, very beautiful tropical island. So that's where our roots come, although I've lived in the US for 40 years. So I have my life featured both places. What I want to do today is to talk about the research on spirituality, religious involvement, and health. It's an area that there has been growing attention to. I have been one of the persons doing work in that area, published, 35 or so papers on the topic over my career. And I want to summarize today some of the key points of this research. And I think they're both, in the research, both wonderful affirmations for us as Christians of what the science is finding about the impact of going to church and being religious. But there are also some questions for us that are challenges that suggest there are areas where maybe as Christians we can learn to do better. So I have a lot of territory to cover. I'll just jump right into my presentation. If I talk too fast, my students sometimes tell me I talk fast, and I get excited about what I'm talking about. And I know I have traveled to many countries and sometimes have translators, and I frustrate translators sometimes. They tell me they have a hard time keeping up with me. So whoever the translator is, if I'm going too fast, just wave your hand and I'll try to remember to slow down. Okay, so let's begin a journey thinking about what we can learn from what science is telling us. Maybe we should have a word of prayer before I begin. Father, this is your time. These are your children. The words of sinful mortal man cannot suffice. We need to see Jesus even as we listen to this presentation from science, because we know that God is the greatest scientist in the universe. Bless us, Lord, and help us to become more like you, is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, technology works. So I'm going to review research for you and just give you some highlights. Some caveats I begin with. Most of the research on religion, spirituality, and health has been done in the United States, and most of it has focused on Christians within the United States. However, there's a growing body of work looking at other faiths, looking at other countries, and the findings are consistent. What we find in Australia and what we find in a few studies out of Europe and what we find in studies of Muslims show the same general patterns of what I'll talk about in terms of religious involvement and health. There's a long history of interest by social scientists in the ways in which religion might have health consequences. Emile Durkheim, one of the founders of sociology, talked about the benefits that religious involvement could have in protecting individuals from suicide. William James, a very influential early psychologist in the United States, talked about healthy-minded religion, one type of religion that he thought could prevent disease as well as science does, or even better. Two influential social scientists that are known, are famous for being critical of religion are Sigmund Freud and Karl Marx. Freud actually argued that religion was an illusion and a mass neurosis. But he nonetheless said that religious ideas could reduce anxiety and serve as a source of consolation without which many could not endure life. And he said, in spite of his criticisms of religion, that the lack of religious belief in society would lead to chaos and additional mental anguish. Karl Marx is very celebrated for his very famous statement where he called religion the opiate or the opium of the people. However, in that very paragraph in which Marx said religion was the opiate of the people, he said it was nonetheless the heart of a heartless world and the spirit of a spiritless situation. So even some of the harshest critics are still conceding that there may be some positive benefits to religion. Well, what do we know about religion and health? The first point I make is that despite declines in religiosity over time, religious beliefs and behavior remain an important feature of life in many contemporary societies, although, as I will show you in a minute, there's much variation across society. So here is the question, this same question. There's a God who concerns himself with every human being personally, belief in a personal God. And this question was asked in a study done in many different countries, and this is the percentage of people in these countries believing in a personal God. And I'm rating the countries from those with the lowest levels to the highest levels. You can see where Norway stands. 26% of people in Norway believe in a personal God. And you can see the variation across various contexts, where if we go to countries like the Philippines, 92% of people believe in a personal God. But you can see a spread, a variation across contexts, but the point is, across many different societies, the belief in a personal God is something that is there, is common, although there is dramatic variation, so you may have a much easier time being on the same page with individuals in some countries than in others. Finding number 2, frequency of attending religious services has emerged as a strong predictor of better physical and mental health. The strongest evidence in the area of religion is that people who attend religious services frequently live longer and have lower levels of illness than people who do not attend. So this relationship is a very strong one, has been documented. This is a quote from a scientific paper. Strong, consistent perspective, graded reduction in the risk of mortality linked to how frequently you attend church. And graded means that the more you attend church, the better. It's a dose-response relationship between religious attendance and overall mortality. I'll give you one example of a study. This is a national study of the United States that looked at 2,100 people, followed them over time, and found that at age 20, persons who attended religious services weekly or more lived on average 7.5 years longer than those who never attended. Among blacks in the United States, the relationship was almost twice as large. There was a 13.7-year difference in life expectancy linked to religious involvement. This is actual data showing how as you move from never to once a week or more, you could see the increase in life expectancy. So this is an example. There are many studies, there are more than 100 prospective studies of religion and mortality. This is just one of them, giving you an example of the kind of evidence that we have. Studies also find that higher levels of religious involvement is associated with better mental health. That's true if you look at anxiety as a mental health outcome. It's also true if you look at depression. The relationships are not overwhelmingly large, but they are consistent, they are modest in size, they are consistent. It's a pattern that we find. There's also evidence indicating higher levels of religious involvement is associated with lower risk of drug abuse. Also associated with a lower risk of alcohol use or having problems with alcohol. In some work that we have done, we have found that higher levels of religious involvement is associated among people who at baseline are smokers. They are more likely to quit over time. And people who quit smoking, who are religious, are more likely to remain smoke-free. So this religious effect then is going across lots of different contexts. The big question in the area of religion and health is, if religion and religious attendance is associated with better health, why? What exactly is it about going to church that leads to better health? And the evidence today suggests there are multiple pathways, and we don't even fully know all of the pathways, but from a scientific point of view, one of the things we know is that people who attend religious services frequently, religious services tend to reduce the negative effects of stress on their life. They tend to promote healthier behaviors and thus live a lifestyle that is lower in stress. Attendance services provide social support, social ties. Religious beliefs provide meaning systems in giving you a framework to make sense out of the challenges you face in life. Religious beliefs can also, and participation can foster forgiveness. So these are multiple mechanisms. I'm just going to run through them really quickly. Religious involvement can buffer the negative effects of stress and health. This is the finding of the very first study I did in the area of religion and health, published in 1991. What we did was looked at people in the city of New Haven, Connecticut, looked at their levels of religious involvement, followed them over time, looked at what had happened in their life in terms of the levels of stress, and 2 years later, we measured again what was their levels of mental health. And what we found, that there was no direct relationship between religious attendance and mental health. However, for persons who experience high levels of stress within the 2-year window we were looking at, their mental health was a lot worse 2 years later, if you had a lot of stress in your life. Not surprising. But for those who experience high levels of stress and attended religious services completely wiped out the negative effects that stress had on health. We call it in science a buffering effect. It protected them. In the face of stress, religious involvement protected individuals from the normal negative effects that stress has on mental health. So it's one of the mechanisms by which religious services operates. Another one is religion promotes healthy behaviors. One of the striking things, in the United States, a lot of the early studies of religion and health were studies of Seventh-day Adventists, the Adventist Health Study out of Loma Linda University, as well as studies of Mormons in the United States. The United States has a large population of Mormons, and Mormons have some similarities in Seventh-day Adventists in terms of lifestyle. They don't emphasize vegetarianism as much, but they don't smoke and they don't drink. And their lifestyle has also been found. So we knew there was a relationship between religion and smoking and drinking and some major health behaviors like that, where churches had specific religious teachings. What we are finding is that people who attend religious services regularly, irrespective of what their churches teach about health behaviors, do better on a broad range of health behaviors. And to illustrate that, I'll talk about one finding. This is a national study of high school seniors and the students in their last year of high school in the United States. This is across all contexts, public schools, private schools, all schools, representative of all students. And what they find, that more religious students across the United States, compared to the less religious, are less likely to use marijuana, less likely to smoke cigarettes, less likely to drive after drinking, less likely to get into fights at school, less likely to ride with a driver who'd been drinking, less likely to engage in binge drinking, that's drinking multiple drinks of alcohol at the same time, less likely to carry a weapon to school. So you see, across the board, they're doing a lot of things. Religious high school seniors are also more likely to wear their seatbelts. Now, the church has no specific teaching about wearing seatbelts, but it's an example of every health behavior seems to be more common among the more religious. More likely to eat breakfast, green vegetables and fruit, more likely to get regular exercise, more likely to sleep at least 7 hours per night. So across the board, you see religious involvement is associated with a better, healthy lifestyle. There's even one scholar who suggests, and I don't think he's right, that this effect of religion on health behaviors and lifestyle, and moderation and lifestyle is so strong that he wonders whether it's a selection effect due to genetics. That people who attend religious services might be genetically different because there's such this powerful effect across all kinds of contexts. Another pathway is that research finds religious involvement can provide social ties and social support. The church is a community. And for many people, the church is an extended family. The church-related friends are an important source of what we call instrumental support. That means they help you with things, as well as emotional support. And this support has been well documented in many, many studies. I think one of the things this emphasizes to us is that we need to maximize the opportunities for religious congregations to become a family, to become supportive, to be a village that can enhance mental health, emotional well-being, and physical health for all members. Another pathway is that religious involvement has been shown to help provide meaning systems, helping individuals to put the challenges of life into perspective. You're dealing with problems, you're dealing with stressors, but you now have a framework to make sense of them. This is one example of a large study done of patients. These were 1/3 of them with cancer, 1/3 of them with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, 1/3 of them with congestive heart failure. And they looked at what were the beliefs that these individuals had in terms of dealing with their health problems. And one cluster of beliefs had to do with God helping them, that as they faced challenges in life, they knew they were not alone, but God was helping them. Another had to do with their dependence on religious involvement and support over their life. And the third one had to do with the presence of physical, emotional losses because of the challenges they had faced. And what they found, that those individuals who had religion provided a sense of meaning, a sense of peace, a sense of faith, a sense of support that God had helped them, they were doing better in terms of their mental health. So there was a protective mental health benefit linked to viewing religion as a source of healing. However, those who focused their religion on the bad experiences they had had in the past, the losses they had had as a result of religious faith, were actually doing worse. And I'm going to come back to that in a minute about some of the negative effects we are finding for certain types of religious involvement and health. Religion can also promote forgiveness. Across the board, across religious traditions, forgiveness is a very valued trait. And it's an area in which I'm doing research. Peter mentioned this is a book that I co-edited with one of my former students, and Everett Worthington, recently, that summarizes this growing body of evidence of forgiveness and health. And I will tell you one thing that's surprising to me from the first national study we did of forgiveness and health. Going into it, I thought that the dimension of forgiveness that would be most important in terms of predicting better health was people's feeling that they had been forgiven by God. I thought that the sense that you have been forgiven by God would be a powerful predictor of health. In fact, we found feeling forgiven by God was unrelated to health. The dimension of religion, of forgiveness, that was really important and predicted better health was willingness to forgive others. It's forgiving others that predicted health and not feeling forgiven by God. I'm not sure that we measured it correctly, and so I'm not sure what it is. But it says something to me that it's easy for us to live our lives and feel that God has forgiven us. It takes a lot more to go that extra step, and it takes the grace of God when someone has really hurt you to let go of that resentment and forgive them. And so we are finding that it's the forgiving others that is the powerful predictor of health. The other thing is that in a national study in the United States, 80% of all people in our study said they felt forgiven by God. So there wasn't as much variation on the variable as well either. But the point is, forgiving others has powerful effects on physical and on mental health. I want to talk about an area of work that Dr. Ken Pargament, a researcher in the United States, has been looking at. And he is doing work on to what extent, as we live our lives, as we interact with others, that we view activities and objects and experiences in life as part of the sacred. And he's finding that if people view part of their life as sacred, as having divine significance, it transforms our relationship in very powerful ways. So for example, people who view their work as a calling versus as just a job actually are better workers. They miss fewer days of work than those who view it as a career. Those who view the environment as sacred, he finds they give more funds to environmental causes. Couples who view their marriage as sacred have higher levels of satisfaction with their marriage, less conflict, less verbal aggression. Parents who see parenting as a sacred responsibility are more consistent in how they raise their children, and there's less verbal aggression and more love in dealing with their children. Young adults who view their bodies as a temple of the Holy Spirit live more a healthier lifestyle than those who don't. So he's actually doing work in a very interesting area and looking at to what extent do we view the activities of life as sacred. And when I read that, I remembered a passage in the book Desire of Ages, where Ellen White, talking about the early life of Jesus, said that Jesus sought to be as perfect as a workman as he was perfect in character. Because he saw his work as not as work in Joseph's carpenter shop, but in his work, he was working for his Father who's in heaven. Wouldn't it be a testimony if every employer in the world who has a Seventh-day Adventist employee can point to this employee as one of the best, most productive, most consistent, most diligent worker I have? Because we see our work, everything we do in life, as the testimony we are given to God our Father, and seeking to do our best in everything. And what this suggests, there are also potential health benefits from that approach of seeing our work and everything else as sacred. Another point I would mention quickly is that the Sabbath and the role that the Sabbath plays in health is an understudied aspect of religious. I like to think about the Sabbath as a weekly mini vacation. In my professional life, I get called all the time. There are lots of weekend conferences, and I'm called to speak at this conference or participate in a conference on Sabbath. These are academic professional conferences, and across my career, I politely decline and tell them I observe the Sabbath It's a weekly mini vacation that's responsible for me maintaining my sanity. But the question is, are there benefits to Sabbath keeping? Not a lot of research here, but 2 studies relevant. A study done in Israel, of Jews living in Israel, found that if you look at deaths in Israel, every week, deaths decline as you get close to Sabbath. And fewer Jews die on the Sabbath than any other day of the week in Israel. And it's only true for Jews in Israel, it's not true for the Arab population. So it has something to do with what the Sabbath means to the Jews, that there are fewer deaths occur on Sabbath. By the way, similar patterns have been documented in science. For among elderly persons, there are more deaths right after their birthday. It's like people wait to see that milestone before they relax and then die. Among Christians, there are fewer deaths before major Christian holidays. So there's a spike in deaths after Easter, for example, or after Christmas. And the same is true for Jews, a spike in deaths after Yom Kippur. People wait to see an important milestone to them. But there's a study out of the Adventist Health Study, the Adventist Religion Sub-Study, that has found that more adherent Sabbath keepers, this is a study of Seventh-day Adventists in the US and Canada, that those who keep the Sabbath more faithfully, like not engaging in secular activities as shopping, reading secular magazines, attending secular concerts or theatrical events, watching or listening to news programs, had better mental health than those who did. So that's one study of Seventh-day Adventists finding a relationship between Sabbath keeping and mental health. Okay, religious involvement can have both positive and negative effects on health. Here is where we talk about some of the challenges. I'm going to illustrate this with a study I did in Chicago with colleagues. We looked at a couple different dimensions of religion and the positive and negative effects. One of the issues we looked at was, why do people attend church? So we found this relationship. Attending church leads to better mental health. Well, people go to church for different reasons. And we came up with 2 broad categories. People who go to church for what we call social reasons. You go to church because it establishes you in the community. People know you're honest and trustworthy because you go to church. Or you go to church simply because it makes you feel accepted and understood. Versus people who go to church with a spiritual motivation. My faith is renewed when I go to church. I feel a sense of inner peace when I go to church. When I attend church, I have a greater sense of the presence of God. And what we found, that people who attended church for spiritual reasons tended to have better mental health. People who attended church for social reasons had worse mental health. So that there was a negative effect for this, what we call the extrinsic dimension of attending religious services, which, by the way, is consistent with a larger body of research that identifies the difference between what's called intrinsic religious orientation. When you are intrinsic, it means religion and religious involvement is something that's personally meaningful, it's central to your life, it's integrated into how you think about the world and how you function, and it affects every aspect of your life. So it's intrinsic, it's internal, it's self-motivated. Extrinsic religion, on the other hand, is utilitarian. It tends to be rules-oriented. It's a checklist of do's and don'ts. It's external, and you do it for status, for security, for self-justification. And what we found over time in lots of research for lots of different outcomes, intrinsic religion predicts better outcomes, extrinsic religion predicts worse outcomes. Another reason, another aspect of religion, I talked about the benefits of social ties. I talked about the church of a community, and that's a pathway by which religion leads to better health. But if we were to be honest, we would have to say that for some people coming to church, the church can be a source of criticism. The church can be a source of negative social interaction. The church can be a source of too many obligations on some individuals. And what we are finding is that the negative aspects of interaction with others in the church, congregational criticism, congregational burdens, is associated with poorer mental health. And listen to this. The association of the negative aspects of religious involvement, congregational criticism, with mental health in the wrong direction is stronger than the positive aspects in the positive direction. So that the negative dimensions of religious involvement absolutely have negative effects on health. In this study, we use the question, how often are people in your congregation critical of you? But there are other studies that capture it with other language. Another dimension of religious involvement has to do with religious coping. Many people in our societies turn to God to deal with the stress and struggles of life. With a diagnosis of cancer, with a major disaster, with a problem, people turn to God. The question is, what's the content of your thinking and of your mindset when you turn to God? What we are finding is positive religious coping, like you work to God, you look to God to help you make sense of it, to give you strength to deal with the problem. That's associated with better mental health. But people who deal with crisis in their life by wondering if God has abandoned them, by using this problem to wonder if God is punishing you for your lack of spirituality or for your sins, actually do worse. There have been studies of patients sick with cancer and other chronic disease, and those who believe that God is punishing them for their sins or lack of spirituality, or God has abandoned them, they literally die faster. There's an earlier onset of mortality linked to negative religious coping. So again, it's not just that you turn into God, but what is your image of God? And what does God mean to you? Is he a source of help and strength? Or are you uncertain in your relationship with him and think that it's now a big problem? Intolerance. One of the dark sides of religious involvement. Research has consistently found for over the last 50 years that religious people in the US and in other countries are more intolerant than non-religious people. I'll give you an example from a study we did. This was a national study in the United States. We asked people whether they were religious or spiritual. The people, 52% of the American population said they were very religious and very spiritual. And then we compared people who were very religious and very spiritual to those who were spiritual only, or those who were religious only, or 30% who were neither spiritual or religious. What we found is that people who were very spiritual and religious had the best profile on many dimensions of life. They attended services more frequently, they prayed more often, they meditated more, they read the Bible more, they had more daily spiritual experience than any other group. Those are all wonderful things. They were less distressed, they were less mistrusting than the religious-only group. But they and the religious-only group had the highest levels of intolerance. So what I'm saying is, people being very religious, doing wonderful things, but also being intolerant. There's a long history of research in the US of the relationship between religion and racial prejudice, for example. And a study published in the 1970s that summarized that research was called The Pious and the Biased. Because the more pious you were, the more biased you were. More recent research documented that it's not all religious people are prejudiced. It's the extrinsically oriented religious people. Whereas religious people who were intrinsically oriented are actually less prejudiced. The tragedy is, in general, more religious people are extrinsically oriented than intrinsically oriented. You get the difference? I talked about extrinsic, intrinsic. Intrinsic is inherently meaningful, central to how you view life and your perspective in life. Extrinsic is utilitarian in orientation. This is a recent paper that summarizes the research and what seems to be the problem. Some types of religious beliefs and orientations lead to rigidity in thinking, leads to prejudice, leads to intolerance. The researchers call it a fundamentalist orientation. And they're not talking about fundamentalism in a theological sense. They're talking about people who view life, how their mind works. Their worldview is rigid, is closed-minded. They believe that their religious beliefs are absolutely correct. And people who have that orientation tend to be a lot more intolerant across the board of other people and other groups. What seems to be important, the researchers finding, is not the content of your religious beliefs, but is the inflexibility or the rigidity with which your beliefs are held. I think this is a challenge for many Seventh-day Adventists, because many Seventh-day Adventists live with this strong belief that we have the truth, and we are 100% sure of the truth that we have. I think this research should remind us that while it is important for Christians to study to show ourselves approved unto God, and we should have a resolute commitment to the truth of God's Word, we should also remember that we are engaged in a lifelong learning and spiritual growth. In fact, there are many resources deeply embedded in the Adventist psyche that could be drawn on to address this tendency to be intolerant. What am I talking about? Proverbs 4:18 says, "The path of a justice is a shining light that shines more and more unto the perfect day." Growing in grace is constantly learning, expanding our understanding. I do not believe that I have all the truth. I believe that the Adventist Church has a statement of doctrine that does not contain error, but I don't think we have all the truth. There is still so much more truth that God wants to give to us, and God wants us to grow. So we have to be open to learn what God wants to give us. In fact, in the spirit of prophecy, we talk about the need for revival and reformation as the most important need that we have as a church. And you know what the spirit of prophecy defines reformation as? A reorganization. A change in ideas, theories, habits, and practices. So if our greatest need is reformation and revival, when reformation comes, we will be thinking about a lot of things differently. We'll be doing a lot of things differently. That's the definition of reformation. Testimonies to Ministers, page 128. And in fact, she goes on to say in the book, Testimonies to Ministers, page 3, those who think they will never have to give up a cherished view, never have occasion to change an opinion, will be disappointed. As long as we hold to our own ideas and opinions with determined persistency, we cannot have the unity for which Christ prayed. So one of the barriers to unity in the church is a rigidity of thinking and not being open to how the Holy Spirit wants to lead us. And I love Ellen White, how she puts this. She says, God and heaven alone are infallible. Amen. We all have many lessons to learn and many to unlearn. Some say we have twice as many to unlearn as we have to learn. And I think that kind of openness to the Spirit and to a study of His Word, and that truth is progressive and that we are growing, is important. That may help us to be a lot less rigid and intolerant with some of our brothers and sisters who may not see things as we do, as well as how we relate to others in society. Quickly, one area in the area of research and spirituality and health is really important that I want to put on the table as we think of what our challenges are, is what do we do for our pastors? The clergy are often first responders in emotional crises in society. Religious organizations have unique ministry opportunities to support and improve mental health and well-being of our communities. But the question is, what training do we provide the clergy to enable them to deal effectively with the emotional challenges in their lives, and how do we train them to effectively deal with the emotional challenges in the lives of their parishioners? Given the specter of and the increase in mental health and emotional problems within our congregations, providing the clergy with tools that they can deal with their own pain and can effectively address the pain in their communities is, I think, a priority for health ministry. There are, in the research literature, there's calls for clergy assistance programs that really will help the clergy to more effectively deal with the challenges in their own lives. And the research suggests that clergy who have experienced the healing of their own pain are better able to value mental health care and to effectively help address the pain of others. Some they can address, some they need to refer to, but we need to help them to do that. So I conclude with the promise in Isaiah 40:31. God promises us that those who wait on the Lord can renew their strength. They can mount up with wings as eagles. They can run and not grow weary. They can walk and not faint. Amen. God wants us to have good health, physical and mental. And what the research is showing, that there are many mechanisms linked to our life in the household of faith that is scientifically shown to help improve our physical and mental health. And that's the good news. The bad news is, although the encouraging news, the areas of growth, is there are some areas where we can do better. How we relate to each other, how we support each other, how we share life together in a community of faith, and how we think and interact with others as we adopt a spirit of learning as we interact and relate to each other. It is my prayer that each of us, as we fellowship, as we work together, we would become everything God wants us to be, so that we can experience the health that He wants to give us, and that He can use us to share it with others. God bless you.